Hello, let's get started. Well, hello and good morning to everybody in the Americas, all those who have joined from the Americas. And I hope everyone who's joined from the Europe is having a lovely afternoon today. Welcome to the webinar, the IAB's new standard ad unit portfolio, what, why, and when. We're going to talk about the new portfolio, why we have made the decisions that we have in the new ad portfolio, what is contained in the new ad portfolio, and a little bit about the next steps that we are taking to help support and enable the new ad portfolio within the industry. Before we get started, I just want to point out a few housekeeping rules. Everybody's muted for the presentation. We will have the presentation, and then we will, you can post your questions through the Q&A panel, and we will collate all of them. And at the end of the session, we will have the Q&A session. Meanwhile, you can also download the details of the portfolio from iab.com/new ad portfolio, and you can learn more about the IAB Tech Lab at iabtechlab.com. So let's get started. I want to introduce the speakers for today. We have Anthony Yam. He's the Chief Product Officer and co-founder at Sponsel. Anthony, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Yeah, hi everyone. Very excited to be part of this working group, and also very interested in getting everyone's feedback on this proposal.
Yep. And our next speaker is going to be Buzz Wiggins. He's Vice President of Product at Tumblr.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Also very excited to be here. Really excited to hear what people have to say and see what you guys think as we work to move our industry forward.
Buzz and Anthony are also the co-chair of the Flex Ads working group that has created the new ad portfolio. And then, of course, it's me, Shelly. I'm Senior Director of Product at IAB Tech Lab. I look after all the ad products and related technologies on the ad container, ad client side, as well as look after all the mobile, like Emerald standard. And then we have Meena, who's been helping me coordinate all of those meetings and will help coordinate the Q&A session today. Meena, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay. So let's go over the agenda today. We'll talk about the new ad portfolio. We'll go over some of the changes that are happening in the marketing, digital marketing landscape and consumer experience landscape. What those changes are and what is driving the new ad portfolio. Then we'll talk about what's contained in the new ad portfolio in more detail. We'll get into two of the key pillars of the new ad portfolio, which is the flexible ad sizes. We'll get into details of how it's defined and how it should work. And then we'll get into some key highlights from the lean guidance. And after that, we'll talk about what are the next steps that we are taking at IAB and IAB Tech Lab to help support and enable the industry adopt the new ad portfolio. So we've been working continuously on releasing new ad formats, new ad product recommendations from the IAB. The new ad portfolio was in 2011, and then Rising Stars after that. And then 2014, we had the Flex Ads Task Force that started working on understanding the changing landscape of digital advertising to understand what is needed to support the future. And as part of that, one of the first changes we made was the shift to HTML5, which happened last year. And now we are doing a complete overhaul because what we observed and understood over that Flex Ads Task Force was that there are a lot of changes that are happening in the way consumers experience media. It's time to recognize all of those and have a complete overhaul of the ad portfolio recommendations. So the changes are basically the first change that is very visible to everyone is that people are using different types of devices, a diversity of devices, diversity of device sizes, and a diversity of consumer experiences from reading media to watching videos to social communication, which has a whole different user interface, social media, and now we're seeing a lot of uptake on augmented reality and virtual reality and a way more immersive, engaging environments. So we're trying to recognize all of that. The other change that we see is that a lot of the publishers are moving to address the diversity of device sizes, and they're moving to responsive website designs, and the ad specs need to follow that. So the responsive website designs, they can switch, but with the fixed size ad specifications, it becomes a problem to change the size of the ad and change the rendering based on that size. What you really need is something that's more flexible, something that's more adaptable to the size of the screen or to the layout of the new rendering that happens as part of responsive website design or a responsive app design. The other change that happened in the past couple of years was a sudden surge in ad blocking. So we recognize that too as part of our guidance. And as you know, there's a lot of effort on the lean principles that's happening at IAB. There's the ad blocking working group that's working on the overall lean scoring and lean algorithms. And as part of that, we've taken inputs from there, and we're working to define the ad formats accordingly. The main reason for ad blocking, as most of you must be aware and has been shown by a lot of research, our own IAB's ad blocking research, as well as research is done by our member companies, is that people don't necessarily hate ads, but they just have a bad experience with the way ads are presented and the ads are executed for them. For example, looking at a couple outlier examples are too many ads, pop-up ads that cover the content and cover the screen, which disrupt the user's primary objective of consuming the content that is provided by the publisher. Some other example is making highly distractive ads that take away the attention from the publisher's content towards the ad by using flashing or very distracting animations. So those are just a couple examples, and there's more that we've looked at in defining the new ad portfolio. So those are the key things that went into the discussions around what should be in the new ad portfolio, and based on that, we came up with flexible ad sizes that can go across devices and that can be responsive and adaptable, as well as lean guidance based on the research that we know are the annoying factors for users and how we can mitigate them. So I'll hand over to Anthony to take us through what's in the new portfolio.
Out with the yeah, over time we started out with the popular ad formats, the fixed sizes that everyone knows, 300 by 250, etc., and added the many other formats plus rising stars and others as we went. And it really is a little bit overwhelming now, even from a, say, a creative production standpoint, advertiser and publisher standpoint. So the IAB and some partners surveyed publishers, agencies, tech providers, and found the most popular and favorite ad units out of the portfolio that they like, and then we use that to inspire the new Flex ads. So it'll be reduced to a much smaller set, and you'll see that. Shaylee, next slide, please. And Buzz will be telling you about the lean standards later, but definitely the Flex ads have goals to be very light, the LDAR, and then also non-invasive. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick look, and we'll get into more details later after Shaylee shows you some other formats. But you can see that it's a nice aspect ratio based unit that is actually capable of running on multiple devices and fits edge to edge and looks great on the publisher site, and should be a great experience for the consumer as well. Thanks, Shaylee.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony. So the other thing, as I mentioned, is that beyond the diversity of devices and device sizes, there is also a diversity of the consumer's content experience and the way they are engaging with the digital media. So we've already seen social media, and then we've seen how much time consumers spend on social media and the communication and messaging applications. So we're recognizing that as well as we're recognizing some of the emerging content experiences like augmented reality, virtual reality, and the new forms of capturing images and media like 360-degree images and 360-degree videos. So let's take a look at some of those examples. So those specs are there in the detailed portfolio. They're more of guidelines which we feel will evolve over time as these mature. But we've got some initial specs going to make sure that the ad experiences that are put into these new content experiences are in sync with the engaging experience that users have there, and are not something that is out of sync with the engagement there. So let's take a look at that. The first one I have is for the messaging environment. So we introduced the emoji ads, and it can be a bigger sticker style advertising also. But here's a quick example of how an emoji ad could be used in a communication app. So branded emoji is based, and it's pulsating to show that it's different from the others. And once tapped or clicked, it can expand into a rich media ad or a video or a coupon or any kind of usual call to action advertising can be embedded into that. The next one example that I have that we've introduced is vertical video, which most of you are already probably familiar with through Snapchat, and now you're seeing it on some other applications also, is the vertical video format, and here's a quick example of that. So typically vertical videos is 12 seconds or under. That's the guideline we've provided, and it's usually always muted, accented with text to define what the video is, to fill in the space for the audio, and that's where people have found it works very well. So those guidelines are all out there for the vertical video. The next one is augmented reality. So augmented reality, we started working on it, and then while we defined this thing, and we were debating whether it's the right time for augmented reality to be introduced or not, and how much of it is going to work. And then just during that time, Pokemon happened, and then everybody knows about augmented reality now. So I'm pretty happy that we thought about it, and it's part of the ad portfolio. So the way most of these ads are going to work is they're going to work in tandem with some physical reality, like a physical object or a physical context of your location, which can then be enhanced with digital media. So we can use all of our other parts of the ad portfolio, all the other ad formats that have been defined to be included in augmented reality. So here's a quick example that one of our member companies helped put together to show us how this works. So this is basically a Coca-Cola example where a Coke can is the physical object, and then it gets recognized by the device, and then further digital assets are added to enhance the experience and create the advertising call to action and engaging experience for the user. So this is one example. The other example that I've seen is that you go from a banner. It's going to be a guided drive to store type of advertising where it will actually open up the camera and actually show you the street and be able to guide you through to the nearest store or say a Starbucks or another point of sale by actually showing you the real pictures or capturing the real images around you. So that was pretty cool. And then the next one we have is a 360-degree video. So the file I'm going to show you is a raw 360-degree file, so it might appear a little weird, but you can actually go to YouTube and search for IAB 360-degree video, and there they have a 360-degree player in which this particular video plays, and you can actually move your mouse around, or if you're on a mobile device, you can just swipe or and move in 360-degree. So let me just start this. So for 360-degree videos, we've got two versions that we're recommending. One is for virtual reality, which is a pure virtual reality environment where you can move around inside the 360-degree, assuming you're using a headset. The other is that you can also use 360-degree videos as a more engaging advertisement outside of virtual reality. The file weights are pretty heavy, so we're recommending it always be a second experience, always be user-initiated, and you can engage the users. Some preliminary data that we've heard about 360-degree media is pretty high and long engagement rates. So that was the 360-degree video. The other format on the 360-degree we have introduced is the 360-degree images, which are similar to the video, very engaging. Let's look at the example. Again, the file weights are heavy, so we are recommending that these be performed or these be used as second experiences if they cannot comply with the lean guidance file weights. And again, these can be combined with existing other advertiser assets like videos or other images or other call to action landing pages. So that's all the new media experiences and examples of those that we have introduced. And now I'll let Anthony walk you through more details on the flexible ad sizes.
Thanks, Joe. So right now we're looking at another example of this is a 4x1 that's running edge to edge on these devices. You can see the layout is a little bit different on the mobile device. So it is possible at different sizes to change experience based on the size. Keep moving to the next slide. And here's an example of a 1x1, so a square. you can see that it actually can be used in a lot of different ways. And one thing that we want to achieve is to really allow publishers to create more beautiful websites and apps as well. You can see here that this ad in the left on the desktop is 245 by 245. It's not actually a 300 by 250, so it can fit within the content and be more in line with the normal content on the page. It can also be used still in the sidebar, as in the tablet example there, or just as a sort of edge-to-edge mobile experience. Next slide, please. And these are designed, as you saw, for multiple screens. So we have the small screens defined as 7 inches or less, medium screens defined as 7 to 10 inches, and large screens as anything above that. One thing that's very important is that we have a whole number aspect ratio for all of these formats. So they'll all be very easy to remember dimensions, like 1 to 1, 2 by 1, 3 by 1, 1 by 4, 10 by 1. So they're very easy to remember and to design for. So the other thing is we are taking into account real estate. So if you think about a small 6 by 1 here that's running on a mobile phone, that probably is it's definitely a different experience from that wide desktop version that we saw. It's just much higher impact on that desktop version. And so we do recognize that advertisers or publishers may want to charge more. That'll probably be likely to happen for larger experiences. So that's why we have the small, medium, and large breakpoints. And the fourth thing is that these are density independent pixels. So that means that the same ad size will work on a Retina display or other high density phone or tablet display or monitor. And so they're meant to automatically handle the idea of 3 times the pixels per inch, for example, on different devices. And then the last thing is we want to establish a minimum width so that no one ends up buying a tiny, 60 by 10 ad unit as a 6 by 1. So we do want to have a minimum width that is a reasonable experience for people. Next slide. I'm just going to show you some more examples of the different aspect ratios here. You can see that in the bottom right, in the 1:4, there's some, we're thinking that there are going to be some aspect ratios that don't work as well on certain devices. For example, the 1:4 just isn't as natural on a portrait size on a phone. But we are going to leave that open. That's not going to be, we're going to let the publishers decide how they want to use the formats. But it's just interesting to see how they can fit to a lot of different places. Next slide, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. So we'll have Buzz walk us through the lean guidance. Buzz, go ahead.
Hey guys, one second, okay. So lean guidance is really here to, it's really an initiative to enhance user experience based on page load performance and how ads can actually complement page load speed. So it's really thinking about file sizes, file weights, and probably even more importantly, when we're loading ads and how we're loading the content for those ads. So this kind of breaks it down by the numbers here. So if we look at the top left chart here, we're kind of looking at the way we structure the page load and where we feel that content should be loading. So if we look at the chart, we have the initial load. We have 1 second where we have no file requests. This is the initial load before the DOM content event is fired. 1 second, and then the subload, which is the first HTTP request after that DOM content loaded a bit is fired. And you can see that we have add file requests in the first section. We have add file requests in the second section. And what we're really doing there is thinking about where to load what to be able to work within the page and not block content and not block an actual page loading or what the user is actually trying to do on the page. Looking down from there, we have the weight and size graph. So this is really, as you can see, kind of a straight line. This is the ratio of kilobyte weight to pixel size. So this is based on a maximum asset weight required to deliver a particular pixel size of asset plus any overhead code like HTML, JavaScript, CSS that would be supporting those assets. This is also based on double density retina resolution in terms of the actual weight of the file. The next thing we have up here is the render process graph. So this is guidance designed to recommend ways in which render blocking scripts can be avoided or minimized. So we're trying to block page. We're trying to block things that block the page from loading. So this is really thinking about how and when we can use these scripts, how we can minimize scripts like this, how we can minimize loading things at times if they're going to block other content on the page. The last thing we have here is sizing grid. So this is really to spur innovation by allowing publishers to determine the guidance for new and innovative ad formats. So we're looking at a size group, so how big are the pixels, then we're looking at the example ads that fit within that, and then our kind of weight and subload recommendations based on that. So if you look at that chart again on the top left, we have our initial load size, which is basically things to get the ad on the page up and running. And we have the subload, which is anything that can load for after. Sorry, let's go back a slide here. So one thing we're also starting to look at here within the link guidance is which types of ads can we get rid of, stop using, and why. So when we looked at top concerns based on ad blocking, based on research by the IAB, as well as several member companies that Shiley mentioned earlier, we kind of came up with a list of worst offenders. These are ads that are causing people to abandon sites. These are ads that are coming up over content. These are ads that are coming up in the middle of something that a user is intending to do on the page and really disrupting what they're trying to do. So first and foremost, the interstitial pop-up, especially those interstitial pop-ups that pop up at any time after you've scrolled. We're recommending not using that type of ad anymore. Forced countdown ad, so ads that pop up when you come to content and force you to stay on the page for a certain amount of time. Recommending not using those anymore. And furthermore, ads that expand sideways over content from your right rail or your left rail, and any ads that expand on hover. As we start to see a lot more mobile adoption, we can understand why a hover ad is not really something that we see as a future ad type. Furthermore, we're presenting new link guidance for video. So no autoplay video with audio. I think you would find that a lot of users don't want that. A lot of people don't want audio coming on as they're coming onto a page for an unexpected video. No auto expand. So these are ads that might be sitting somewhere that are going to expand automatically and either cover content or push content out of the way. And furthermore, no auto collapse with news page content. So those are the ads that would be start auto expanded. You'd be down reading an article. As you're reading, the content is going to push back up because the thing auto collapses and suddenly you get lost in what you were actually intending to do on the page. the things that we're recommending in lieu of those, always user-initiated on both expand and video. However, you can do autoplay video with muted audio as long as you're on Wi-Fi or broadband. We're thinking a lot here about users' data plans, and especially international or travel data plans that can really be eaten up by 1 or 2 video ads showing. We're allowing expanding inline while scrolling, so you're basically, as you scroll by, you're kind of holding an expand open. But in all of these cases, we would want a close button present to dismiss the ad at all times and highly visible to the user that may have received this ad experience in error. So we're also looking at the new types of ad formats here that would replace some of these type of expanding ads. So rather than clicking on an ad, having it expand over content, being a little unsure about where the close button lies, being unsure about maybe whether that ad is a part of the page or not, and what type of content it's covering, we're thinking a lot more about, since this is a user-initiated expand, we can assume that the user clicked on that and wants to learn more, so we're going to give them a lot more of an experience to do that with the brand. So rather than expanding a tiny little frame, we're now giving this ability to either have the full screen or a letterbox area with the screen behind it blacked out. This is a greatly simplified view of what expands used to be, but also allows for a lot more brand content. And once again, we have that close button very visible in the top right corner in case that was done in error. This goes the same for mobile. So a mobile tap will now expand either to full screen, once again, close button very visible, or to a letterbox ad like you see here, which is this 1-by-1 ad sitting on the page. The next thing we really want to make a distinction about is what a new interstitial would be. So an interstitial, rather than going up and over content, now sits in between content and in between something that the user wants to do. Much like you would see in a commercial or in a radio commercial, instead of this popping up over something that you're intending to do, this is now in between content that you select or choose to navigate to. So we're thinking here in this example about swiping to a new page. As I swipe from one article to the next article, I get brand content that I can once again swipe away from if I'm not interested. This is much less jarring, this is much less disruptive, but it's once again giving you, without having to click an expand button, it's giving you the ability to present your ad to users with a full screen ad. Once again, the swipe away and both the swipe away and the close button are very visible here to lead this experience. Another thing we're looking at is the size of banner on mobile devices. We found that at 35% of screen size, we saw very, very high abandonment rates and very unhappy users. We found that as we moved that down towards 25%, we settled into an area where people are happy and don't mind and kind of expect an ad to be there. So the recommendation is that any of these ads would not be more than 25% of the total screen height. Charlie, go ahead.
Hi, sorry. Thank you, Buzz. I was on mute and I didn't realize that. This is a summary of all of the lean guidance, a quick summary. One principle that we followed all the way through was that every ad should be a lean ad. So no matter what type of functionality you want to present to the user, it should follow the lean principles for main two reasons. One is that we want to make sure that the page performance, which is a great part of the user experience component, should be honored. And the only way to do it is that we honor the initial load, and we have the lean ad that supports page performance. And the second was that not to include any kind of formats that will support invasive disruptive behavior. So keeping that principle in mind, we do not really need separate universal ad package or a separate rich media spec, because you can combine any of those functionalities like interstitials, animations, expansions, rich media interactions into any of the ad as long as it's a lean ad. So we've done away with those parts of the specification. The functionality is not going away. Rich media is still very much part of the ads, and interstitials and expansions and animations are very much there, and they're defined with the guidance on there. Then some of the smaller ad sizes is what we have taken away, which we, based on the attitudes and usage study, they didn't come up in the top 10, 12 ad sizes that all the key stakeholders think are sufficient for advertising across devices, as well as covering all of the advertising that they do today, as well as in future investments. Then the other thing, of course, we've taken away anything that can cause a disruption of the content experience, which is not user-initiated, like pop-up ads, ads that float from left to right or sometimes sneak up from the bottom of the screen, ads that change the form and shape of the original ad without user initiation, like auto-expand, and autoplay media that can incur significant costs for the users without their initiation. And as you saw Buzz explain that they're allowing autoplay under Wi-Fi and broadband, because that's a good proxy that the user is not incurring significant cost. So those are things that we're recommending that be discontinued to create a better ad experience. And then some of the things we're still evaluating and are in transition. So all the fixed sizes are in transition, and we've provided a mapping. So if you go to iab.com/new-ad-portfolio, we have a transition guide there as a supplementary document in which we've listed the mapping as to if you're using this fixed size, then this is the aspect ratio ad that you should think about. And those are the sizes that we're recommending, that during that transition period, you stick to those recommended fixed sizes. And then the full page flex square format that we had is being transitioned into more device aspect ratio based full page flex, and you can see like 4 versions or 4 different aspect ratios that we have recommended for full page ads that cover all the popular, most of the popular devices. And then rising stars is something else that we are evaluating and will be in transition as to whether we'll have a new set of rising stars based on the lean principles, or we might find another way to define innovative and scalable ad formats in future, but that's not decided yet. So that's a summary of all of the lean guidance. I just wanted to talk about one thing before we go to the next steps section, is that a lot of our advertising is, and a big part of advertising is to get the attention of the user. And I think over the years, because digital offers you a capability to do so much more, just the technology like JavaScripts and other kind of code and other kind of capabilities that are built into the browser, it's pretty tempting, and what we've done is to get the attention, we've created disruptive methods to get that attention. Whereas if you see the other media like the radio, TV, or print, they also have the ads that get your attention, but they're not disruptive, and they're what I call interruptive. It's a subtle difference, but it makes a huge difference in the user experience. So if you see like print, for example, you have full page ads, you have half page ads where half of the page is an article and half of the page is an ad, but the user is always in complete control and choice on what they want to view and read. So you may be interrupting as you turn the pages that suddenly, instead of an article, you see an ad, but it's not disruptive. User can easily go on to the next page or skip it or view it as they choose. Same in radio. You'll never see, or you'll very rarely see an ad playing over a song or coming in the middle of a song. Usually there is a very clear close of either a song that you're listening to or a program or an interview. There's a very clear close and transition to an ad and then back to the main program. So again, that's not disruptive. That's what I call interruptive to get the attention. And then same with TV in linear programming. There's always a very clear transition to an ad, and then the user is brought back into the program. And though I expect that TV is going to change a little bit as it moves more to digital and more to nonlinear programming, and we'll have to figure out how the TV ads work in that world. But I just wanted to touch upon that distinction between disruption and interruption, and how we can make interruptive ads and get the attention that you need without actually disrupting the user's experience. So that let's go on to the next step, some of the things that we are working towards as part of the Flex Ads working group. So of course, right now we are in the public comments process, and we're receiving a lot of public comments. A lot of them are highlighting on how we can improve the specification itself to better explain some of the things. And then there are some suggestions on how to improve the guidance. We're working on that. In parallel, we started working even before the public release on execution testing. So basically what we wanted to test was that because it's a very radical shift from a fixed size ads, and the whole world, the whole systems that we have developed are built around fixed ad sizes. And now we are saying that, there is no fixed ad size. It's an aspect ratio with 3 size classifications of small, medium, large. And how will this all work end to end? So we have some key publishers and most of the creative platforms, major creative platforms participating with us. We have done one round of the testing to see how this works in the current system and identify the gaps. We have passed that part. We know what the gaps are. Now we are going into the second phase starting next month as to work on resolving those gaps, which could mean writing down all the different methods, different setups on the ad servers, what changes the publisher needs to make to the container. If we need to define a new definition of a container and or enhance on the safe frame definition, we will go ahead and do that, and we'll include all that as part of transition guidance. So the document that we have today is a pretty short document, but we're going to expand on that tremendously to include step-by-step guidance for publishers, for advertisers, and for ad tech vendors as to what they need to do to transition. All of that we're planning for between early and mid 2017. And then, as I said, like if we come up that the only way to resolve these gaps are provide container definitions or reference code for containers as well as for ads, we'll maintain and provide that code library support to the industry to help them adopt and enable the industry to use these new ad formats. So those are the next steps from now until expect like by mid 2017 is when we should be able to produce all these artifacts to help the transition. The other thing that's happening in parallel is we have a proposal for OpenRDB to support this in programmatic to enhance the banner object with the flex ads definition. So that's in process in parallel, and as we have this transition guidance and all, we will add the guidance for programmatic to at a later stage. So with that is what we had to present today. I'll hand it over to Meena to see what are the questions that we have, and we can take your questions.
Our first question is, would you leave the actual required pixel dimensions up to the publishers? For example, a 1-by-1 ad could be submitted as 500 pixels by 500 pixels.
Buzz, do you want to take that, or should I? I can go ahead. So, sorry, I was on mute there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's exactly it. Because it's a 1-by-1, the ad that is submitted would hypothetically resize to fit any 1-by-1 container. Obviously, you're not going to see an ad that's something like 10-by-10 pixels. So as your page would flex between a smaller size up to something like 500, the ad will flex with it.
Our next question is, will these guidelines impact app environments, specifically autoplay video in apps like Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, so we expect everybody to follow that. So for the autoplay, I just want to add one more, there are two things that we're saying on the autoplay. One is that we're saying it should not force the user to incur a significant cost. So we are recommending that on mobile data plans, autoplay not be used. But we are also adding that a publisher has the option to take user preferences in settings. If the user is okay with watching, autoplay all the time, or they can have preferences setting to say, I can watch it in Wi-Fi or 3G and not on 2G. So then it's okay as long as you have that contract with the user that they understand and they have, and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat all actually have those permissions that the user can change and set. So in that case, it's okay for those apps because they have those preferences.
Can you give more information about lean scoring?
Lean scoring was not part of our working group. We were focused mostly on the ad unit definition and the ad formats. It's a separate working group that will come out with lean scoring in Q4 this year. So we can it's the ad blocking working group. We can participate in that to know more about the overall lean scoring.
Will the lean guidelines consider how many ad units are on a page?
Yes, so that's going to be part of the lean score. So we are not defining that as part of the ad unit portfolio because we're basically defining the ad units itself, not the overall page. So that will be one of the criteria in the lean score.
Will all GIF, JPEG, and etc. display ads go away and be replaced with the HTML5 version?
Yes, I think if I know the data correctly, the last time I looked at the data, 99% plus of display is already HTML5. So, but you can use JPEGs and static images within the HTML5 also. So they're not as such going away, but most of the ads are HTML5 now.
It seems like the new ads will be trafficked as 1-by-1. Is this correct?
Yes, so we expect that the naming, the way we call out the ads would change. So we would expect that it should be the aspect ratio as well as the size, like 1-by-1 small or 1-by-1 medium.
Can you explain how you see density-independent pixels working? Are we loading different density images to servers and being pulled by what's needed?
Buzz, do you want to take that, or?
Can you read the question again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Can you explain how you see density-independent pixels working? Are we loading different density images to the server and being pulled by what is needed?
That would probably be exactly what you do. So I think these ads are flexible to a point, right? So you're not going to have the same ad run as a 300 by 50 or something and then go all the way up to something like a 970 by 90 because there are going to be vastly different assets there. You would be loading them in as a pixel ratio with a size attached, so small, medium, large, in addition to a ratio. Assuming that when you load something on a phone, you're going to have various sizes of phones where one set and size of assets are going to exist. And when you load into something like a tablet browser, the same condition is true when you load into something like a web browser. That's your largest asset.
Is the current 300 by 250 not recommended to be run on mobile phones, given you don't recommend ads be more than 25% of the screen size?
I can take that one. This is ads that are overlaying content on the bottom, not more than 25% of the screen size. If you have a 300 by 250 inline, or as an expand from one of those, that's completely fine.
As smartphone manufacturers keep on changing sizes of phones and rolling out new screen sizes, is this new ad portfolio adapted to the majority of current smartphone screen sizes?
That's actually exactly what it's for. As we start to see various sizes, because we're using ratios, we'll be flexible to say whether it's 373 or 400 or, 398, who knows. These ads should be able to stretch and adapt to the size given.
In banner video, is 3G connection included in autoplay permissions?
Right now, the recommendation is only Wi-Fi and broadband, but we are receiving more feedback and encouraging people to provide more data around performance and other things there. So we are discussing that if we have to make any changes in the FlexAds working group.
Can you explain in more detail about initial load and subload?
So initial load is everything, all the file requests that are made before the DOM content loaded event, which basically means that at that point, all the assets that the page will use to render are already requested. So, and that's what's going to use, the browser is going to use that for the initial rendering of the page. So that's the initial load. Everything that happens afterwards, anything that all the requests made after the DOM content loaded event will be part of this subload. We have provided that they should be made at least 1 second after, so that there's enough time for the page to do the rendering and the load, and then the subloads can start in the background. Also, we're recommending that you should do it async as much as you can. And we also have a tool that you can use to actually measure all of the initial load, subload, and other lean criteria that's going to be there. It's available on html5.iabtechlab.com. We're trying to provide that utility to support the new specs.
I do not understand the aspect ratios. What aspect ratio is a 300 by 250 equivalent to?
So aspect ratios are basically the ratio of the width and the height, and that's how in the spec they're defined, the width first and then the height. So if you see a 3:1, it means that the width to height ratio should be 3:1. Or if you see a 1:4, it means that the width to height ratio should be 1:4. And then the next part of your question, the 300 by 250, is equivalent to a 1:1 is what we are replacing the 300 by 250 with.
Can a lean ad use third-party JavaScript libraries from CDNs such as TweenMac?
Yes, of course. There is a guidance on the shared libraries and how to use them, so it's there in the document, the details on that.
Can you elaborate more on interstitial definition?
So interstitial, we are trying to make sure that the interstitials are correctly implemented and properly placed, which basically means they are ads that come in between content navigations. So when a user wants to go to a particular URL or is already on a page and wants to move to the next page, it's in between those transitions that interstitial ad can be placed, and that's what we want to strictly define. Because today, what a lot of the time, the pop-up ad, a full-page pop-up ad, is passed off as an interstitial. So it's pretty disruptive. Like you land on a page, you start reading, and just after you've read 1 or 2 lines, suddenly a whole full-page ad comes up that are passed off as interstitials, but those are really pop-ups. So that's the differentiation we want to make sure with this guidance, that it's clearly understood, the definition of an interstitial.
What is the impact if sites are coded to run single request architecture or SRA, where all ad requests load in one call?
Could you repeat that, Tina?
Sure. What is the impact if sites are coded to run single request architecture, SRA, where all ad requests loads in one call?
Okay, we'll have to, first, do you want to take that? I'll have to dig a little deeper to answer that question. But it should not be, my first thing, it should not be any different than what you do for fixed ad sizes. You're just replacing the ad units with a different way of defining the size. Other than that, you're not doing anything different.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Charlie. Ad sizes that fit in any of those boxes are totally fine. If you want to design your site so that it uses one of these specs and just runs the ad at a certain size, it can just stay there. So what this is allowing, it's kind of allowing for us to leave things as they were, although defined into kind of a new physical size. Or if you want, you can kind of be a lot more creative and build into a more flexible layout that works better with maybe the vision you had around content.
Which video encodings will be supported?
So we have not changed any definition on the video encoding, etc. So like earlier, we had a definition of generally the H.264 and also WebM. Both will be in use. So nothing has changed there in this spec.
How will you compare the new ad portfolio with VAST or IMA ads?
So this portfolio does not address VAST or digital video or typically the in-stream video like pre-rolls and mid-rolls. Those are not addressed in this portfolio. Those are part of the digital video ad format guidelines, and that's where they will continue to stay.
Will coding become standardized, and will there be code samples available to work with?
We will provide reference codes and samples as artifacts to support, like I mentioned. Will be coming in between early 2017 and mid 2017 in that time frame.
That's about all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you, Meena, and thank you everyone for joining. Have a great rest of the day for everyone who joined from the Americas, and have a great evening for everybody in the Europe continent. Thank you, everyone.